Well, the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce is delighted to have Governor Schwarzenegger join us at this year's World Trade Week breakfast. We want to recognize his unwavering commitment to promoting California around the world. As we celebrate here today and this month the benefits of international trade and investment, we're proud to recognize him as a California Global Ambassador. Let me just share with you a few of the highlights from the governor's term in office and why we are recognizing him today. In 2004, the governor led trade delegations to Japan and Israel, and in 2005, he led a historic 6-day mission to China. That same year, he signed Senate Bill 118, expanding shipping opportunities for California wineries. And in 2006, Governor Schwarzenegger took a delegation to Mexico to discuss trade, immigration, and environmental protection. And in 2007, he led another trade delegation to Canada, promoting science and technology. In 2008, the governor signed a memorandum of understanding with Chile and was instrumental in having California strawberries imported to China, exported from here to China for the Beijing Olympics. Finally, that same year, the governor hosted the 26th Border Governors Conference at Universal Studios, where he met with 4 U.S. and 6 Mexican governors to discuss border security, transportation, health, and environmental concerns. As you probably all know, the governor has also made foreign visits to Germany, Denmark, France, the United Kingdom, Italy, and Iraq, meeting with presidents, prime ministers, and other high-ranking officials in government and in business. To assist me in presenting the governor with this prestigious award, once again, is Matt Toledo. Matt is president and publisher of the Los Angeles Business Journal and the chair of the board of the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce. Let me mention one more thing before I introduce the governor. You heard from Austin Buettner earlier, and Austin was part of a news conference with the governor on Friday, and he coined a new name for the governor. Instead of the Terminator or the Governator, it was the Jobinator. So help me welcome our newest California Global Ambassador, Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. Please stand for the governor.
Well, thank you very much, Matt and Gary, for the wonderful award. I mean, it's great to receive an award, even though I tell you I have gotten a lot. I mean, in my bodybuilding days, I got trophies and medals, and then in my acting career, I got a lot of awards. But this one is without any doubt the most recent. No, I love awards, I tell you, I love awards. No two ways about that. As a matter of fact, I got an award just last week from having the most awards. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things. I have more awards than Larry King had wives, that's for sure. The only difference is that I keep mine. But anyway, it's great to be here today with all of you, and I really appreciate this award, especially from the Chamber, because the Chamber has been a great partner of mine ever since I came into office. And we have done so many projects together, and I wouldn't have been able to do the kind of things that I did. So it is a great pleasure to join all of you this morning as we kick off the 84th Annual World Trade Week here in Los Angeles. It is notable that this event began in 1926 during the period of isolationism in America. 1926, think about that. I mean, this is when Jerry Brown was in his first term as governor. This is when Gary was in his teens. I mean, it's really amazing when you think about how far back that goes. But throughout the the 20s, Congress approved a series of steep tariffs on imports. And the intent, of course, was very noble and good to protect the American workers and to protect the American jobs and America's economy and so on. But what happened was very disastrous and very predictable, actually. Other countries began to retaliate and did exactly the same thing as America did. They came up with their own tariffs and restrictions, and as a result, in the following years, American exports were cut in half. As a matter of fact, they really plummeted, helping drive our nation deeper into recession and eventually into depression. So how appropriate it is for us here today in these tough economic times to stand together and to reaffirm our unwavering commitment to free trade. Free trade is where the action is. History shows us that in times of crisis, there are always those, of course, that want to turn inward and to go back to protectionism. And we see it right now in Washington. There's bills floating around, and we see it also in Sacramento. And of course, I don't have much control over Washington, but I do have some control over Sacramento. And I can guarantee you that anything that comes to my desk, any legislation that smells remotely of protectionism or of a job killer, I say, hasta la vista, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, to create jobs and to bring our economy back, we don't need to go and tighten the screws of free trade. We need to blast those screws off free trade. Because as I said, that's where the action is. We need to expand trade and open more markets. That is what we would do here in this country, and this is what we should do also here in California. This is the only way that we will go and bring California, bring America, and bring the world out of this deep, deep recession. Growing up, I saw the terrible effects of protectionism. This is why I couldn't wait to leave Austria and to leave Europe and to come over here to the United States. And as soon as I arrived here, I experienced the awesome power of economic freedom. And I saw when I was here the first few years the difference. I remember in the early 70s, after I came over here, I bought my mother for Mother's Day American native rug. And it was the only money that I had in those days. And I sent it to her, and I was expecting that she would call me on Mother's Day and would just say, I have the greatest son. You're wonderful, I'm so happy. But I got the opposite call. She called me and she says, why would you do this to me? On Mother's Day, I'm receiving a rug and I have to pay 20,000 shilling. She had to pay 20,000 shilling, which was around $2,000 import duty. But that was not my intention on Mother's Day to make her pay $2,000. But it just shows you how crazy those tariffs and those import duties were. Now, of course, since then, everything has changed in Europe. Austria is part of the European community, and there's free trade, not only in Europe, but all over the world. They finally learned that free trade is much better than protectionism. And so I saw it as also when I was over here in the 70s, and I was working for a company called Wheat International. And I was traveling around the world promoting food supplements and selling food supplements and weight training equipment. And what great revenues that was for the company that was located here in the United States. They were relying a lot on those sales overseas and selling the products overseas. And the same was again when I went into the movie business. When I went into the movie business, I was one of the first actors that recognized the importance of overseas sales. That we got to go and not only rely on domestic box office grosses, but also on overseas box office grosses. And studio executives were always so amazed when I said, okay, let's map out traveling around the world and promoting. I want to go to Japan, I want to go to Australia, I want to go to Germany and to England and to Italy and to the Nordic countries, and all. They looked at me like I was crazy. But they realized very quickly that my movies started making more and more money overseas than domestically. As a matter of fact, in the end, 2/3 of my grosses came from overseas and not from here. And because of that, I became the highest paid actor with $30 million in Terminator 3. Because my movies were so strong, it was all about selling overseas. So of course, there was no difference when I became governor. I recognized that we have to go and sell our products overseas, and that's why I went on trade missions, and I saw the incredible contributions of free trade to our economy.